Hi, my name is Nick Friedman, and I'm a business consultant with Providence Consulting Group. Today I'd like to give you a brief demonstration of Birst Analytics. In this demonstration, I'm going to show you how Birst can simply and powerfully build a complete analytical solution from raw ingredients. I want you to consider this more of a cooking show to demonstrate that. Even you, as a business user who might be unfamiliar with terms like SQL, DDL, or ETL, all you need is a little knowledge of your source, a browser pointing to Birst, and a little bit of intuitive actions.
Okay, I'm going to start here by creating a new project for our demonstration today. So this project that we are creating here, it's being created in the cloud, which could be your private corporate data center or a public Amazon Azure environment, or here in our optimized environment at Birst.com. The only commonality is that you use a browser. So here's our bottom-up roadmap for what we're going to do in three broad groups. The first two are what you would expect: the ability to build interesting visuals and dashboards. This Pronto layer is something we think you'll be impressed with. By allowing us to connect and refine our data, this is where we'll be starting. But before we do, this network piece is something we believe will be a revolution in cloud analytics, allowing you to finally fix the disconnected data silo issue that we see every day in corporate America. So let's start with Pronto Connect. Of course, we can source flat files, but let's do something tougher. When connecting to sources, you can't avoid the need to establish the plumbing, but with Birst, we try to make it easy. For a start, all configuration happens in the browser. Being browser-based, we're able to configure our type of connection and our input credentials in seconds. It is worth noting that Birst can connect to your data source by way of live access stream or a simple data import. However, the import that takes place here is not a pull from Birst, but it's using this agent. It's the one piece that needs to be at a location where it can see your source systems and the SSL address of your Birst server. Secure data transfer when and how you want it. Okay, so let's complete all of these credentials here. So now that we've established this connection, we can also choose the schema and objects we want to use from this source just by using our mouse. Notice here that we can instantly see our results. This is powerful, as this is what our business users understand. So here we would want our case categories, and I'm going to go down to our support cases here. This view, for example, allows them to instantly verify that this data set is as expected. It also allows them to get additional insights. For example, looking here, we see we have a field that is richer than just being date. It has a timestamp. And this level of data we could leverage later on. We also see a gap. We have a customer account ID from our CRM system, but there's no name to go with it. Let's go back and get it. This time we'll be hitting a cloud source. Paste, type, all within the web browser. Sure, there may be more complex scenarios and options that the power user would want, and with Birst Enterprise, we absolutely have the components available if required. But with Pronto, we prefer to keep it simple and deliver the subset of functionality that the typical user would need. Username, password, simple. Now, all our business user wanted initially was the account name, right? But because they can see all of this other data here, why not just add a few extra fields that might help us later on with our analytics? Think about it. This is a win for the user because of the preview capability, and a win for the IT team since only those pieces that are relevant are being pulled, making for time-efficient, cost-effective API usage. This is a situation that, in my experience, can be a game changer. Why have these requirements gathering meetings when you can instead run a workshop with Birst on full display and you select what's needed immediately? So now that we have our raw ingredients and assuming there's no more questions, let's move on to the next panel and prepare our data. Okay, so let's see what we have to work with here. First up, we have our accounts. I would say this is pretty much good enough for our purposes already. For the other two sources, however, we'll create a cleaner consolidated view. For a start, do you remember this date field that had the timestamp on it? Let's make it easier to use by creating a new column just containing the hour of a day. Why, you may ask? Because our business user understands that this number is incredibly important for our resource balancing. And you can see how easy this interface is, where you can start typing and it gives you those Amazon-like nudges to point you in the right direction to get everything typed in. And once the formula is correct, you can see that it tells you that it's ready to go. Okay, so now we have our hour of day in there as well. Next up, let's merge our two sources. This again is for the business benefit of creating a friendly reporting experience. Simple. And we are only going to take in the category export on this. You can see that there's no columns here. That's actually a feature of Birst because it lets you know right away that the join that you just made to merge those two columns, obviously it wasn't correct. So let's go back in and edit that. See here how I have my CRM account ID and case category as my two key indicators for these columns. I'm going to change this case category, get a good set of data. If you have ever tried to do a VLOOKUP in Excel or tried this in SQL, it's not for the faint-hearted. But as you can see here, we feel we have created an experience that is truly intuitive. With Birst, all you need is a browser and knowledge of the data, and you are done. Okay, so let's do one last thing here before we move on. You might be mistaken for thinking we don't have a lot of transforms here. Know that with Birst, you have a full script library available. We call it BQL, or Birst Query Language, and the citizen data scientists who plan to attend our instructor-led deep dive training will get familiar with it. As an example here, I'm just going to do a count of closed cases. Sure, this could be done in every report that needs it, but by doing it once means that when it comes to building reports, it makes everybody's life a lot easier. Instead of one. Hit apply, and we can see how this update takes effect right away. So at this point, we have our data prepared, and we'll go ahead and publish this. Note something that I didn't do. I did not consolidate accounts with cases. Why not, you may ask? Because it makes zero business sense to do so. Not all customers have entered support cases, so how would that look? That's why we have this relate step. It's a key part to the Birst experience, and it's surprisingly either lacking or challenging for your average user in other solutions. Let's go ahead and work with it. Okay, so now when we come in, it just has our two sources here. To connect these, it's very easy. It seems small, but it's actually a big deal technically. We'll return to this later, but for now, that's enough of the backend after we get these two connected. See, just like that, a click here and a click there, and we're done. All right, so let's move on to the fun part, the visuals. With Birst, we want you to get familiar with a concept we call value-based design. This is a methodology that we have developed to encourage people to think beyond the wall of numbers, those 10,000 page extracts, which of course we still could do. But instead, we want you to consider that there may be a better way to represent the data you have, one that is action-oriented and, yes, will allow you to make better business decisions. So let's start here with a whiteboard and the opportunity to brainstorm what we may want to show. First off, let's give it a name. Next, we want to define a key value indicator, a number that we hire and fire people on. In this data set, that may simply be the number of cases we have logged. So we'll add in this count of closed cases, and clearly knowing the trend would be good too. So let's add that information in here. And we will make this by year/month. And so you can play around with these charts, whatever looks good to you. Since there's so many data points here, I usually like going with the column. So let's save that. Bring that up into the top left corner. And there you go, a trend of cases by month, by year, built in under 10 seconds. Next up, let's create some deeper level visuals. For that, we use Visualizer. This Visualizer experience was designed for non-technical people. On the left, we have our library of prepared objects, courtesy of Pronto, as we developed earlier. On the right, our canvas, and everything else seen here can be considered intuitive guides to get things done. We can either browse or use Google-style searches to find the pieces that we want. So let's change this into a tree map for this one. You can see there's instant feedback. It's easy experimentation to see if there is a better visual. And even Amazon-style nudges so you can try our new concepts like trellising in seconds. I'm not sure if you caught that, but you can see how we have these Amazon nudges here. But I'm just going to say account site is color. And so there you have it. We have all of our values in there. So this is our end state, the count of cases by customer type, by region, by case type. And yes, this can be saved in our IT managed repository so that other users can access this chart that you just built. Now, just to be clear, for those of you who want the wall of numbers, we could easily do that as well, just like this. Or we could make it a simple chart. So now here, for example, we have a list of customers with support cases. And again, in moments, we can see our noisiest customers with the most cases. Let's save this as my detail and return to the dashboard. Now we're back here where we started. We can add in the charts we want and arrange them how we want. Now before we polish it too much, let's verify this works and getting us some actionable insights. Okay, first we can see that our top 3 customers by the number of cases are in the Midwest, which accounts for 2 out of every 3 calls. Action. Maybe we balance our team hours to meet their need. We also see that the 2 most popular call reasons are admin related. So with this, we could make the action to make sure that those experts are on hand at peak times. Finally, we notice that Marshland is particularly challenged by these capabilities. And looking at all of their issues, we see that how-tos are also one of their highest causes for their cases. So what is the action that we could take off of this? One way is that we could contact them and discuss training/services to mitigate their challenges. So maybe they'll file less how-to calls. So what do you think? Is this an actionable dashboard? I think it is. And this is what we mean by value-based design. So now let's go back in and give it a little bit of sparkle to help the user truly feel loved. First, we're going to go in and make it clear who brought this to them. By adding an image for Infor. Next, we'll remove some chart junk like the border lines and add some color to highlight the KPI. Then we can add a shadow to the report. So this can help nudge the user that this is something that they can export or schedule if necessary. Let's make that a little thinner. And while we're at it, let's just resize it so the user can know to scroll down through it. And to make this easier for us in the design aspect of this, we're going to publish this just so we can remove these filters that we forgot to take off at the end there. How about we embed something in here, maybe a Twitter feed. Just like that. And boom. And there's your Twitter embed. And we can even bring that down further. Extend our list here. And voila, there you go. Finally, I'm going to add something that I think is an elegant solution to the governance debate on whether users can create trusted views. Rather than assume no and limit their ability to be creative, why not flip the script and assume yes, with constraints that unverified reports are appropriately papered over, like so. With this draft wallpaper in the background, this liberates your average user to build what they think they need and gives your IT team the capacity to truly know what's going on. Since this is all happening in your cloud environment and to manage without being overbearing, everybody wins, no? Everything you saw here was courtesy of the Birst platform.
But it does not stop here. Next, we're going to walk you through a number of challenging scenarios that we believe are a common problem in many enterprises today, and for which Birst offers a great solution. In our first scenario, we're going to review the benefits of networked analytics. So let's return to this detail report and think about what it has. Support cases by customer. Is this actionable? Ventures may have logged the most cases, but is that good or bad? Wouldn't it be great if we had more information, maybe like billing information? But where would we get that information? It wasn't part of our Salesforce CRM or our support cases database. What if I told you that somebody in finance had already created a project, just like this one, containing the exact data that we need, the billing information? So let's go get it. We can do that by going to the Pronto Connect screen and using the network option. Here we can browse objects exposed by other teams governed by IT and available for company-wide use. This one here is supplied by the finance team and looks perfect for our needs today. A click to select it, and we're done. Of course, there's nothing to prepare, but that was already done by the finance team. But what we do need to do is relate to our existing model, which we can do right here in Pronto Relate. And that's it. In seconds, we now have a connection to another team's data and access to trusted numbers we can instantly use. So let's do exactly that by returning to our dashboard and grabbing our detail report and pulling it into Visualizer. Here we can quickly locate the billing amount, and we can add it in an instant. Now, I would argue we still don't quite have what we need. So let's make a new metric called billings per case. And here we are just going to do the billing amount and divide that by number of cases. And see here how easy this is to do. I just have to start typing what I want to find, and with the Amazon-like nudges, it'll pull in what I actually need to put in here. So now we can see billings per case. This is another terrific example of hiding complexity using Birst. What we have here is a federated querying across multiple systems, but to the end user, it is simply writing a formula using this basic view. Now, for example, we see ventures are actually paying a fair amount for our solution, and their level of case volume is not as significant as that of Neova Group. We do need to connect with to either reduce their case generation activities, maybe discuss education options, or increase the invoice they are paying for their privilege. Regardless, this is a view that allows us to have that discussion. With Birst, it really is just that easy. What you have is a dashboard that we built in 30 minutes. Now, let's consider what's possible if you had 30 days or more. And to do that, we're going to switch over to a space where that billing information originated from. In this scenario, we're going to focus on the top end range of what is possible with Birst. And to do that, we're going to start here with a corporate analytics solution developed for the enterprise with a focus on sales and marketing teams. So let's start with what the marketing executive sees by clicking on this marketing KPI. This is value-based design with Birst, again, in action. With our most important number, the return on investment, the biggest thing on the page. This number, our executive gets fired and hired on. So it has a prime position at the top left of our dashboard. Next to it are the components that drive this key value indicator. How much is being spent on marketing activities? And what are we getting for that effort? What is the turnover? How many leads do we capture? And what is the average size of those deals that we do close? If we scroll down, we can even see that we are currently showing on our main site and in our social media feeds with Birst. But if we return to the top here, we can see that this dashboard is focused on illuminating outliers. For example, if we look here, we see that one is not like the rest. It seems that sponsored events are trending the wrong way, and we can click here to discover more. Now we can see down here that there is one region that is bucking this negative ROI trend. The Southeast is getting some traction from their sponsored events. And if we look at all of their campaign types, we can see they are generally doing a great job with marketing activities. Maybe we should look to them to present a lessons learned session in the next sales kickoff. Okay, so let's reset and think about one driver here, the average deal size. This not only drives the marketing ROI, it also influences our bottom line, revenue. So we can click on it, and as we see here, this is the view seen by our sales executives. Here, they do not have to care about ROI, but they are compensated on revenue, and they can control the drivers towards that number. The number of deals, the win rate, and the average deal size, which matches our previous page. Having Birst with its single version of the truth avoids wasted cycles of teams questioning the veracity of the numbers and instead allows you to focus on decision making. Like before, this data-rich dashboard allows the user to understand their data and its relationship like never before. For example, these three images show the deals in play, which is what has already closed, what is committed to close soon, and what are our pipeline or our pipe dreams. These same forecast categories are split by region here and by rep. The specific details, including hyperlinks to the raw source transactions, can be seen here. Looking below, we can see two common report requests. The one on the right is an example of a crosstab that includes some conditional flags to draw your eye to those numbers that are outliers, while the print-ready version on the left was developed using an add-on component we call Designer, perfect for those times when you want a richly formatted view. It's the kind of a report a user may wish to export or schedule, and that option is right here. But if they wanted to do more, the full power of Birst is still here. For example, we can filter our print-ready report for just the SMB segment. And as you might expect, everything changes to reflect our new filter. I could go on for days going over all of the ways that you can filter, drill through, or export, schedule your reports, but I'd like to pivot real quick for an interesting use case. Just because this was delivered by Birst power users, this does not mean our business users have limitations. For example, we can still allow user to self-service via Visualizer. Visualizer remains the perfect tool for any user to build their own reports. Why? Because of this view of the subjects areas. It's neat, it's organized, and there is no need for a user to worry about source systems or data types. That was handled by the IT team and delivered here. This makes report authoring super simple. For example, we can create revenue by quarter, by region, by manager. In seconds, just like that, dragging and dropping the items that we want in the report. Now I realize other tools out there offer this capability, maybe not as slickly as using just a browser, but it's comparable. However, let's raise the common problem. What happens if our user has a data set they want to overlay on this chart? For example, they may have sales targets that would be useful to show. How could they merge this data? How could they use this chart here and merge it with the data that they have on maybe their desktop? Now, if you don't have Birst, you have a problem. And the answer would typically go something like this. A, you might enter a change request with IT and wait, hoping it gets delivered while it's still useful. Good luck if your data changes between request and response. Or B, you could remove the sparkle, change the report to be a wall of numbers, and then export it so it can be matched up with your Excel data. Then you could go in and email it to your team, and before you know it, you have another disconnected data silo that will never die. But with Birst, we offer option number 3. And the premise is simple. Rather than export it out, why not import the data in? Here's how it works. The first step, the option to import the data. This can be found right here. Typical Visualizer, the ability to select your file is made as simple as possible. Once loaded, we have a preview of the data. If the name didn't give it away, the content should. This helps us see that it's sales target information, a completely valid data point for our user to want to apply and make things actionable. Because both this edge data and the centrally IT managed data can be connected by region, let's do that here in the blending area. Here we will take our region and match it up here with region. And that's it. We click done. And see, what's happening here is that the data from the spreadsheet is being uploaded into the Birst environment. This is not polluting your IT managed core space. That planet stays pristine, but instead it is creating a satellite space with a citizen count of 1 and with a bridge to the main space. This leverages the same networked analytic architecture as shown earlier in the Pronto section, and the implication is huge. See, now what we can do is format our visual with the data and format the visual the way we want. The fact that this report is now performing federated querying to display the results, or that the underlying model retains its integrity and managed by IT, that's good stuff for people like power users, and it has potential to end corporate battle that has raged for decades. In case I have not yet convinced you that Birst is the greatest analytic tool on the market, here's one little example why you may want to stay with Birst. Yes, you now have 2 data sets on a single chart, but is it actionable yet? Which periods need work? Here, we are going to add a conditional formatting that will analyze the 2 data sets and tag the outlying periods in red. If the expected amount is less than the target sales data, then the bar will turn red. Just like that in seconds. This is a perfect example of value-based design. I know that there may be questions out there related to governance, but I'd like to highlight that Birst moves this discussion along by finally allowing you to see the silos that are created, all inside of Birst. Users are able to access the IT-maintained data and combine it with their own personal data to make decisions that before they would have never been able to because they could not analyze the 2 together. Then the users are able to share it with others, or if they don't want to, they can keep that data private to themselves. It's a simple solution that gets you best of both worlds. As I said at the beginning of this presentation, this is like a cooking show. You could have a big pot of all your ingredients sitting out there, and people can sprinkle some spices here or throw some spices there, and in the end, it doesn't matter if you're a good cook or if you're a bad cook. You still get that end product that just looks and tastes amazing. At this point, I'd like to take a quick look at what you've seen so far. We went over the dashboards. They're at the heart of what the line of business users will want to see. For report authoring, we have Visualizer, and then we have Pronto. It's the perfect tool for connecting, preparing, and relating all your data as needed. Talking about connecting, we also support live access. Not everything needs to be loaded up, especially if it already is in analytical format and is ready to be used without any manipulation. And if you want to go live against another Birst space or expose this one for sharing, we have networked analytics. But it does not end there. For full power experts, we give you Enterprise Edition, where the user has access to Designer, the print-ready pixel-perfect reporting, plus this Power User Admin Console. What you're looking at here is the entire workflow for creating analytic-ready data, from importing it, refining it, preparing it, and then managing the who and how of distribution. It's all here. Historically, these activities listed here would have been addressed by an army of people and tools with names like Alteryx or Irwin, and roles including ETL developers, data modelers, DBAs, and dashboard developers, and all the other related complexities going along with it. Managing such a mixed product environment alone is the reason why organizations have come to accept analytic projects measured in months and years. But with Birst, this is truly an interactive workflow. Take this modeling option right here. Here, we see our sources, the raw data that was used for reporting. I suspect yours may be even more complex with cloud sources like Salesforce, spreadsheets, databases, big data, even your existing EDW. It all could be displayed here. Now this is what Pronto allows you to develop and work with. Functional and reliable, yes, but not necessarily beautiful or the most efficient of designs. But with Birst Enterprise, you can build this. Here, we have a physical structure where it has been reorganized. Some people call this a warehouse, others call it a star schema. I prefer the term analytically ready data. It delivers a user experience that is reliable and performant and semantically abstracted from the volatility of the root system. For example, here we can see opportunities sliced in ways including by sales stage, and then billings by 3 ways, 2 of which are conformed dimensions. Here's another example where the script generate MRR is sliced by managers, billing attributes, and accounts. And finally, the pieces used to get from the sources to the elegantly designed target. Data warehouse experts typically look at this and invoke armies to work hours to get this done. In Birst, it only takes minutes. This is what you've read about as our patented automated data refinement, or ADR technology. And this is Birst, a web scale architecture that supports all your analytical needs, large and small.